Mysteries to Die For welcomes Jason Little back to the morgue. Jason is a versatile fiction author, crafting tales that span the genres of horror, science fiction, and suspense. He creates 100% human-written horror stories for TikTok at Flash Frights Official and on Patreon at From the Fright Vault. This marks Jason's third contribution to Mysteries to Die For, where he dedicated himself to the grind of devising stuff that can kill you. Discover more of Jason's work at jasonlittlewriting.com. Welcome to Mysteries to Die For.
Dude, I nailed that.
You did nail that.
I never get that
He didn't
right.
even practice.
I know.
He never practices. I am TG Wolff, and I'm here with Jack, my piano player and producer. This is a podcast where we combine storytelling with original music to put you in the heart of a mystery. All stories are structured to challenge you to beat the detective to the solution. Jack and I perform these live, front to back, no breaks, no fakes, no retakes. In the world's most dangerous working environments, it can seem like everything is out to kill you. The equipment you use, the materials you work with, the very air you breathe. Stored energy is a coiled viper waiting for the right moment to lash out. Owners, manufacturers, contractors, and beyond have developed safety protocols to combat sticky. That is, stuff that can kill you. Gravity, motion, mechanical, electrical, pressure, sound, radiation, biological, chemical, and temperature. This season is all about the means of murder, as authors put our sticky detective skills to the test. This is Season 9, Stuff That Can Kill You. And this is Episode 10A, where mechanical is our sticky means of method. This is Finely Ground Karma, Part 1, by Jason Little.
Yes, it is. And folks, what kind of instrument are you feeling today?
Let's see, finely ground. You got anything that sounds like an espresso machine?
You want to listen to an espresso machine
No, I
for
don't.
an hour?
No, I don't.
Wow.
But I thought it was a pretty funny answer.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just I can go downstairs and just
Don't
start.
they call accordions like grinders or something? Isn't there a... And
That's
you
a
always,
sandwich.
And you always like, grinders?
Yeah, and grinder's a sandwich
Oh.
and an app.
And an app.
Anyway.
I kind of like that. What's that?
BRTY alto sax. Brighty or Britty?
Or birdie.
Birdie. I like Britty, which is like, it's a little British, yeah? It's just a little Britty.
Okay. So we use the BRTY alto sax.
Yes.
All right. Let's jump into our story. Q-tip. Enclosed in the interrogation room the size of a walk-in closet, a man that smells like death makes poor company. Wichita Falls detective Pamela McCarthy sent those words as a text to her new partner seated beside her. Dressed sharply in a black pantsuit, her red hair pulled into a ponytail, Pam looked over to see if her offer to bond was well received. Newly minted detective Michelle Montoya wore gray slacks and an oversized white sweater. Before entering the room, Pam told her new partner to listen to what the suspect said and to take plenty of notes. Michelle had her pen poised over a yellow legal pad. When her phone dinged, she slipped the phone out of her pocket, checked the display, and hid her smile behind a clearing of her throat. Neither detective had to worry about Manuel Aldana witnessing the mockery of his natural blend. He sat across from them dressed in orange with his head bowed over his folded arms, his bushy black hair hiding the handcuffs tethering his right wrist to the wall. Pam regarded the file spread open over her cross-kneed. Manuel Aldana, you go by Q-tip, is that correct? It wasn't difficult to see how Aldana got the moniker, with his frizzy hair and narrow body. He raised his head and gave a weary nod as if sleep had eluded him for days. Just Q, he said. What was that? Pam asked. Aldana raised his voice. Just Q. Michelle smirked. You're missing a grand opportunity to correct people with just the tip instead of just Q. especially the ladies. Q seemed fully awake at that moment. He cocked his head and blew out a tuft of air. "Damn, sis, I like you." Pam looked at her partner crossly as she told the inmate, "My partner's name is Detective Montoya, and I'm Detective McCarthy." Pam caught Michelle blushing. She decided she would take the young detective aside and explain a few things after the interrogation, such as letting her senior take the lead and never showing weakness in front of an inmate. Pam continued, "Now that we know who you are, just Q, let's talk about Fred Bubba Fitzgerald. Are you aware he was murdered?" Q's forehead creased and he shook his head as if the news disturbed him. "Heard that. Awful." "I'm curious how you heard that," Pam said, "given that you were picked up just hours ago, Sunday morning around 3, and Bubba was discovered at 8 this morning, Monday." Q shrugged before he uttered, "Heard the guards talking about it. Small town. People talk." Pam nodded to indicate she accepted the answer. "I heard that you were out with Bubba Saturday, July 12th after leaving work. You went with him to the King's Tap Bar. Is that correct?" "Yeah. Bubba was closing his shop, so he sent everyone home except Little Dipper and I." "Little Dipper?" Pam asked. "Stuart Matheson, the other manager besides me. Bubba wanted us to wrap everything in plastic in case he could sell the place. Prepare it for storage. Then he took us out and bought us a beer and food and stuff. Sorry." "We're all adults here," Pam said. "I want you to speak freely. If the bar closes at 2 and you were picked up at 3, where were you for that hour before you were arrested?" "With Bubba," Q said. "He was pissed at me and didn't want me leaving his side. He was with me when the cops showed up to take me to jail. Bubba turned me in after catching me smoking in the boys' room." He sang the last part, doing his best rendition of Motley Crue. "Hey, you think I could get a Dr. Pepper?" "You give me what I need," Pam intoned, "and I'll consider granting your request. What happened between you and Bubba Saturday night?" Q flashed a grin. "He walked in on me and Little Dipper in the bathroom and, well, all hell broke loose." Sunday, July 13th, 1:50 a.m. Q took up his wiry black hair and tied it back with a rubber band that he kept cinched around his wrist. He was tucked into the bathroom stall with Stuart Matheson, who they called Little Dipper. Seated on the toilet seat, trying to avoid getting his foot in the puddle of urine, Q reached into his sock and produced a pipe and a small baggie half filled with powder before filling the bowl. Little Dipper hissed, "What are you doing? Bubba could walk in here any minute." Q snorted, "Don't be a wuss. Come on, just a toot. We're out of a job. May as well live a little." "I can't," Little Dipper said as he reached for the door lock. "I'll go back to prison, and I ain't going back there. Never, ever again. You have no idea what it's like. I'd rather kill someone than go back to that tiny cell." Q stood and placed his hand over the latch, preventing Little Dipper from leaving. "Bubba's sitting at the bar, hammered out of his mind. He'll never know." Little Dipper gave a sigh as he reached for his hand. "Fine, give it here." He flicked the lighter and took a massive hit. The flame illuminated the moon pie face and the spur emblem on his XXL basketball jersey. With him bent over and coughing, Hugh snatched the pipe away and refilled it. He flicked the igniter and sucked in deep, blowing a white plume of smoke at the ceiling, when the bathroom door opened. Hugh dipped down and checked under the stall. The bathroom was empty. "Shit," he whispered, looking at his now former coworker. "Was someone just in here?" The door flew open and collided with the opposite wall. Bubba's voice boomed, echoing off the tiles. "Stuart, that better not be you in there." Q jumped off the toilet to prevent Little Dipper from opening the stall door, but the bigger man shoved his scrawny butt aside and opened the door. Bubba, who was larger than both men combined, reached in and grabbed Q and Little Dipper by the collars, slamming their heads together in the process. I can't believe you, Bubba hollered, his voice echoing off the narrow walls. I'm done having people walk all over me. You're both going to jail. Give it here, he demanded, jutting out his open palm. Hugh placed the baggie of meth in Bubba's palm and winced when their soon-to-be former boss flushed it down the toilet. Don't call the cops, man. Please don't call the cops, Hugh begged. Bubba ignored the whiny pleas as he threw open the men's room door and tossed both men into the belly of the bar. After Q recounted his story, he shook his head and muttered, I can't believe someone killed Bubba. The interrogation room clock ticked away the seconds. Pam pointed at the suspect with her pen. Bubba did call the cops on you both, didn't he? Lucky for you, he flushed your stash or you'd be in here for more than just paraphernalia. Well, he only called the cops on me, Hugh said. For Little Dipper, it was a call to his probation officer. Pam touched her own eye. Did you get that when he knocked your heads together? Hugh touched the purple bruising around his left eye and nodded. He would have messed us up more, I expect, if he hadn't gotten distracted by Antonio. Pam rifled through her paperwork. Who's Antonio? Well, he used to work at the plant, Hugh stated. He got fired before I started working there. What do you mean Bubba got distracted? Hugh leaned forward, the chain securing him in place rattling against the table surface. Antonio does this thing where he'll challenge people to arm wrestle for money. He had a pocket full that night. Suckers. Dude is real strong. Soon as Bubba saw him wrestling someone at the table next to the bathroom, he forgot all about us and he went after him. Bubba went after Antonio, Pam clarified. Yep, Hugh said. Bubba pinned him against the wall and called him a cancer. Pam pointed to Michelle's pad, indicating she wanted the following recorded precisely as stated. Did Antonio say anything back? He just smiled, Q said. That's how Antonio is. Cool as a cucumber, no matter what's going on. And Pam said, Then what happened? Well, Bubba let Antonio go and dragged Little Dipper and me out of the bar. What time did you leave the bar? Pam said, glancing over at Michelle's pen scratching against the pad. We closed it down, little after 2, said Q. That leaves an hour before you were picked up. What happened in that span of time? Well, that's a good question, Q said. He gave a laugh and turned his face red. To be honest, lady, I don't remember much. You can refer to me as detective, Pam said in an authoritative voice. Do your best. Hugh raised his shoulders, then shouted so suddenly and loudly that both detectives tensed. Wait! His fluffy hair bounced and his arm shot out, which jerked the chain holding his wrist. I almost forgot. We saw a psychic. A psychic, Pam said, as she looked Michelle in the eye. Like a tarot card reader? No, she didn't have no cards, Q said. She did have a crystal ball. It swirled around like there was clouds inside. I'm sure it is, what do you call it? A prop, like they use in movies. None of us believed in that shit going in. Even Bubba kept saying he didn't believe in it. But he was shook as a mofo when we left that. We were all there. Shook about what? Pam said, before quickly correcting herself. What had you all shaken up? What she told him, Hugh blurted as if stating the obvious. Something about negative karma, that Bubba was going to get what was coming to him for all them animals he mistreated. Pam cocked her head. You mean that you all mistreated? Hugh twisted his face in confusion. I never hurt no animals. What exactly do you mean by that? Pam sighed, spread her hands apart and said, I mean, you work at a slaughterhouse. Hugh rocked his head back with exasperation, his eyelids half closed. When he righted his head the way he looked at her, Pam was reminded of her soon-to-be ex-husband, who constantly regarded her with the same sense of superiority, as if she, with all her life experience, didn't know shit. Hugh said, Detectives, I know we may look like monsters to you, but you got privilege, you feel me? I bet you buy steaks at the supermarket and burgers at Mickey D's for your kids, but you sure love to look down on how we put that meat on the table, don't ya?" Pam jutted out her palm. "I'm actually a vegan, but understood. What happened after you visited the psychic?" "Well, Bubba called the popo to come pick me up, and now I'm here," Q said with a sly grin. "And what's this Antonio's last name?" Pam asked. Q showed both palms. "No clue. I only met him a couple of times." And Pam said, "One more question. What do you do at the slaughterhouse?" "I'm a stringer," Q said. "I string up the swine and prepare 'em for—" He made a cutting motion across his throat, complete with a gruesome sound effect. Pam looked over the man. "Can you lift pigs?" The inmate smiled. "Maybe I'm stronger than I look." Pam opened the file folder, tossed several glossy 8x10s onto the table, and spread them out. She watched Q's face. She did not see the slightest bit of tension or revulsion. "Damn," Q said. "Someone got him good." "Not surprised. He was one sick puppy." "Why are you not surprised?" Pam asked. "Bubba was not a nice dude. He was mean. To the workers, to the managers, and especially the swine." "I'm surprised. I don't suppose you know who did this to him, do you?" Pam asked. "Being that this is a small town and word travels." Hugh turned up his palms again and shook his head. Pam clicked her pen to retract the point before hooking it on the edge of the notebook. "So, you were with Bubba when the police picked you up at 3. Where was Little Dipper?" Hugh responded, "Well, Little Dipper walked home. He don't live too far from the bar." "Got it," Pam said. "Since you're going to be spending the night on account of that meth pipe, I'll let you know if we have any other questions." Both detectives stood as Michelle also gathered her things. Hugh raised his eyebrows and said, "Do I still get that Dr. Pepper?" Pam said. She opened the door, and both detectives stepped out.
Well, that's pretty neat.
What's pretty neat?
I don't know. So how was the man killed? How was he fully killed?
You are going to find out.
Okay. But it's gruesome.
It's Jason Little.
Of course it's gruesome. Of course, I don't know. So my guess, here's my 2 cents. He was definitely killed in a slaughterhouse fashion, you know? It was definitely slaughterhouse tools. He was racked up, and sent through the machines, and he was treated as though he were a pig. Which is actually, if he was a cop, would be very ingenious.
If he was a what?
If he was a cop, that'd be some really good symbolism.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
I wonder, I bet that has to have happened at least once in our history.
Like for real life or
for real
fiction
life? Like there's got to be a law enforcement officer who's been murdered.
No, we're not going there. I'm cutting off that
line
of random
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying
no,
that has to have happened.
No, I don't see how you got to that has to have happened.
Oh, we were talking about pigs.
Yeah.
And slaughterhouses. And when you're talking about pigs, you
No.
immediately think,
No.
well, who
No.
else do we... No?
No.
You don't think that?
No.
If there's any cops listening, and I know there are, I mean nothing against you, but you have to admit, people call you it.
I think we need to move on.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are.
You know what? Jason would approve of this conversation. Look at this story. He'd approve. And I think in honor of him, when we do our interview, I'm going to make sure he tells us just how much he's happy about this conversation. No, what? Actually, I'm not going to put that on Jason. In hindsight, that seems like something I should not make him tell us about, whether or not he loves our conversation about killing cops. So, you're right, actually. We should shut up and move on.
We should shut up and move on. Slaughterhouse Slop. Pam and Michelle stood watching Q, still housed in interrogation, through the two-way glass. When Pam's cell phone buzzed for the 4th time, she growled, slipped the phone out, and uttered, "Leave me alone," while activating Do Not Disturb. "Something wrong?" Michelle asked. Pam plucked free her phone and showed the display to Michelle. which showed 10 missed calls from Peter, my husband who found love with another woman. Needless to say, we're getting a divorce. The senior detective felt stupid for divulging so much to a subordinate, but figured she'd benefit from the catharsis. She added, "Have you ever been cheated on?" "Not me," Michelle said. "It's usually me that does the cheating." "Oh," Pam responded as she looked her partner over, her forehead creased. Throughout her career, Pam had never worked with a single partner. 2 weeks ago, the chief informed her that she would be coupling up with a transplant from Dallas. Though Pam never liked working with partners, something about the young woman intrigued her. With her natural, minimal makeup, the woman half her age hid a definite old soul beneath the oversized cashmere. Michelle kept her eyes on Q through the two-way mirror. "You think he did it?" "Not a chance," Pam said. "Too skinny. Have you seen the victim?" Michelle laughed through her nose. "But you're not totally convinced." Pam looked over at her partner. "Aren't I supposed to be asking you these questions as your mentor?" Michelle acknowledged the senior detective. "Well, it's written all over your face. You think he could have done it?" "Maybe," Pam said. "Everyone's a suspect until they're not. He could have killed Bubba before he was picked up for that pipe. But I would think he'd be covered in blood. I'd like to hear from the other manager the victim was out with that night." Hold on, let me read that sentence again. "I'd like to hear from the other manager the victim was out with that night, named after a constellation. Remember, it's not what I think, it's what I can prove." Michelle contorted her face. "Not much evidence, is there?" Pam gave a heavy sigh. "No, not a lot." The detectives stared into each other's eyes and simultaneously cringed, as if telepathically replaying the events of that morning, where their senses became assaulted with all levels of gore and depravity no human being should be privy to. Earlier that morning, Fitzgerald Meatpacking was as eerie as it was inconspicuous. A solitary square mailbox marked the dirt path that led to the dilapidated white building. The faded letters on the sign gave the building an ominous feel, as if Pam were stepping into a house of horror rather than a legitimate meat-packing plant. The rusted front door led to a small office where a heavy-set blonde woman sat typing away at a computer. The woman stood when Pam entered and offered her hand. "You must be Detective McCarthy." "I am," Pam responded. When they shook, Pam noted her palm was slightly damp. She scanned the desk for a cup that might have leaked condensation, but, finding none, settled on nervous sweat as the likeliest culprit. Samantha Tipton introduced herself as Bubba's right-hand woman before her face clouded over. She revised her statement to indicate that everything was now in the past, with the future anything but certain. After bowing her head as if in a moment of silence for her former boss, Samantha thumbed over her shoulder. "All the other police are already on the floor. If you don't mind, I don't want to go in there. I only caught a glimpse of the mess before calling the police, and I don't want to see all that they did to him." Pam caught the plurality of her statement immediately. "They?" Samantha crossed her eyebrows and nodded. Crossed her eyebrows?
You've never crossed your eyebrows before?
How do you cross your eyebrows?
Is this thing on? I can never tell sometimes if I turn my mic on. It is on. What do you mean? You know, when your left eyebrow just goes over to your right eyebrow and your right eyebrow just hops on over to your left eyebrow?
Oh, you're being sarcastic.
Yes, I am.
I was like, turn around. I want to see this.
You looked. You were like, let's see him do it.
I'm trying not to move my mouth from away from inside of the microphone because Jack does not like that, but I was trying to look at him to see him cross his eyebrows.
I'm assuming it means like furrowed, right?
We'll go with furrowed. Yeah. Samantha furrowed her eyebrows and nodded. "It ain't possible to do what someone did to him all on his own. Ain't no man could have Bubba, let alone hold him down and murder him like they did." She blew air past wet pink lipstick. "Bubba was not only big as a house, he was strong as an ox. He could take all comers. I seen it plenty of times. Bubba once left a whole motorcycle gang bleeding and tearing out with their tails tucked between their legs. And Bubba's the one who started it. You didn't mess with him, and the whole town knew it. Samantha seemed to grow embarrassed by her blubbering mouth. All that being said, he may have been a hothead, but sure he had his foul-tempered moments, especially when he was drinking. But he was a loving man, and no one deserves what they did to him. Pam asked the question all detectives ask at some point in the murder. Did Bubba have any enemies? Anyone who didn't like him? Enemies? Samantha scoffed. No, not that I can think of. But I don't know if this is related. We were robbed not long ago. Pam raised her eyebrows. The slaughterhouse was robbed? Samantha whispered, We prefer meat packing plant? Slaughterhouse sounds so crude. Pam widened her eyes as she looked around the room, biting her lip to keep from pointing out the woman's irony. The detective flipped through her notes. I don't think we have record of a robbery. Samantha lowered her voice. Oh, well, Bubba never reported it. He was too prideful for that. They took everything. It was all meant for the homeless. Pam blinked her eyes so Samantha felt the need to explain. She cleared her throat. Since the plant was closing anyway, Bubba got the idea to host a barbecue for the needy, a 4th of July bash. He planned to set up a smoker and sell the meat for much less than usual. Pam frowned. Right, I guess with the law he couldn't just give it away. Samantha gave an apologetic shrug. Exactly. You can't give food to the needy, as messed up as that is, but you can sell it. He wanted to make a difference. He was so kind-hearted. May he rest in peace. Pam poised her pen to write. I take it no one was ever arrested over the robbery? Not that I know of, said Samantha. But they're slippery. They know how to get away with things. Pam's eyebrows met. Who are we talking about? Gypsies, Samantha whispered, looking around, as if speaking the word aloud may cause one of them to appear. The night before the event, gypsies broke in and stole everything, the whole batch of meat meant for Bubba's buddies. That's what Bubba wanted to call the event. Bubba's buddies, the homeless, but the poor folk didn't get any of it because the gypsies had stolen it. Pam raised a palm. Gypsies. Isn't that an offensive term? I believe they're Romani. Gypsy was a nickname people used when they assumed that they were from Egypt. I think that's a story anyway. I'd have to Google it to be sure. Samantha grimaced. Oh, I don't care. Call me racist, a bigot, or crass. Those people will rob, cheat, and steal to feed their families. I told Bubba to report it, but he just waved me off. Well, how did he know it was gypsies that robbed the plant? Samantha continued to whisper. Bubba was sleeping in his office that night and heard everything. He came out just as they were all getting away. He chased them in his van, told me it was a whole clan of them. They live not far from here, supposedly. They'll never be caught, slippery buggers. Pam told the woman not to go anywhere, that there may be follow-up questions. Oh, don't worry about me, Samantha said with a wave over the desk piled high with papers. With the plant closing, I have a lot of loose ends to tie up and not much time to do it in. I just gotta keep busy or else I'll turn into a crying mess. Why is the plant closing? Pam asked. Well, this was Bubba's family business, Samantha said. He didn't have no kids and his wife recently left him, so unless he has a nephew or capable relative I'm not wary of, who's gonna run the place? Not me. I may keep the sails a-flappin' and the poop decks polished, but I ain't no captain, if you catch my drift. Pam remembered something Q said. Didn't Bubba take his managers out because the plant was closing before he died? Samantha looked down at the floor. Bubba was broke. The plant was losing money. Between not making enough meat and all the theft, he couldn't make ends meet. Bubba was crushed. Poor man. The detective left Samantha to her paperwork and stepped through the metal door. From there, The air turned considerably cooler as she passed through heavy plastic flaps onto the slaughterhouse floor. The first thing that stuck out to Pam, as her shoes click-clacked across the cement, was the very heavy reek of copper that hung in the air. She knew the smell to be blood, and had never been inundated with its stench to such a high degree. She followed the police tape and the glaring illumination to where evidence teams stood huddled. She found Michelle kneeling next to what appeared to be a massive metal grinder set into the floor. The heavy cylindrical wheels interlocked with deep grooves and jagged teeth meant to pulverize flesh, muscle, and bone. The wheels of the device were covered in dark coagulated blood and chunks of thick matter. Pam didn't have to see the mechanism in action to know how efficiently it would render any living thing into a mass of bloody mush in a matter of bone-crushing seconds. She found it difficult to keep her composure as she looked around the room at the restraints, saws, and other instruments of what could only be described as abject torture of innocent creatures for the sake of capitalistic greed. As if crying for help, Pam only then heard the din of the animals trapped in their pens out back. The oinks and wails of the pigs made her close her eyes and take a deep breath before addressing her partner. "What do you have for me?" Michelle pointed her pen at an object set a few feet from the floor death machine. "Meet our victim." Given the carnage before her, Pam had entirely missed the head resting on a 7-inch ceramic dinner plate. She mentally chastised herself, as she always took pride in her powers of observation. "Notice that," she lied, peering close. The head of Fred Bubba Fitzgerald had been severed crudely from the body. Ribbons of bruised flesh hung like strips of yellowed wax from the portion of the neck that remained. One of the eyes had been popped out, producing a pinkish glop that dried on the victim's cheek. Pam shone her penlight through the jagged edges of the severed neck and along the hairline. The victim had a 6-inch gash on the back of his head. The wound spread open, red and dark, like a toothless mouth attempting to smile. The detective was about to direct her flashlight elsewhere when something glinted inside the mouth. "Is he wearing braces?" Pam asked. Michelle reached out with her bare hand to touch the victim's lips, pry them apart, when Pam caught her arm. "Gloves," she told her junior. She produced a pair of latex gloves.
She was just going to do that with her fingers? She was just like... No, it does not matter. It does not. This wasn't a whoop slipped my mind. That's not a whoop slipped my mind. She was excited to do it.
Is that what you think it was?
I think she must have been excited to touch... Who? Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Pam produced a pair of latex gloves and suited up before using her index finger to pry open Bubba's bottom lip, more glinting indicating something metal inside the victim's mouth. "Whoa," Michelle said as she watched her senior pry the mouth open further. "Good call." "What is it?" Pam asked, looking closer. Inside the victim's mouth, in the cavity normally reserved for the tongue, the killer had placed a number of round, multicolored trinkets. She turned and asked the evidence team, "Anyone have tweezers?" A moment later, Pam produced from the victim's mouth what appeared to be a thin, small blue coin. "Is that a dog tag?" Michelle asked. Sure enough, the disc had a hole at the top suitable for a metal loop to attach to a dog's leash. The name on the tag indicated it once belonged to a pooch named Murphy. 11 dog tags, Pam said when they all had been extracted, each one laid side by side near the plate, and read the names as she read the names of the dog aloud. "Doggy, Carla, Sissy. Anything else?" Michelle gave a shrug. "What you see is what you get, at least so far. It's a good bet the industrial grinder was the murder weapon. Looks like he was fed into it feet first, leaving only his head. But there's something else you should see." Pam blanched. "There's more?" Michelle guided Pam to a series of serpentine chains with shackles on the ends. The chains originated from a conveyor-like apparatus that disappeared into the opening in the wall large enough to suit the bulk of a hanging animal. We think he was strung up here and slaughtered like one of the pigs, except worse. How much worse? Pam said. Michelle showed Pam a large tank of water that stood beside the trough filled at the bottom with dried blood. From what we can piece together, the killer dipped the victim into that pool, which is supposed to shock the animal to make them pass out, so they don't feel anything. Except electricity was set to a minimum, so the victim would only feel annoyance and, well, pain. Michelle pointed to the blood-splatter walls where hunks of flesh clung to the white tile like dried black slugs. Here's where the animal's throat is usually cut. We suspect one of the saws was used to torture Bubba, and judging by all the blood, it wasn't quick. We found a human tongue in the trough. We're fairly confident it's his. I'd say that's a good bet, Pam muttered. Michelle jerked her chin at the smear of blood on the floor, and that didn't need pointing out. And this is where the body was dragged over the grinder. The thick blanket of black jelly led directly to the grinder's edge. Pam looked briefly to the ceiling, if only for a sanitized place to divert her eyes. What about his other remains? Michelle clicked her teeth. Well, from what we can tell, the industrial grinder handles waste. Bubba was pretty much turned into goo. Gross, Pam grumbled. And that's why I'm a vegan. And that's how Bubba died.
You gotta give it to Jason. Rarely have I ever gotten icked out by a story. I've been pretty good with it, honestly.
There was actually one part where I was like gagging a little. It's like you're reading, like you can't gag.
Yeah. Normally I can just get through it and like it's not a big deal, you know. I normally have to see it, but man, wow, that was vivid.
That was vivid.
That was not something you could really ignore.
No.
And to continue this, who in their right minds sees a severed head and is like, let's look in its mouth, gloveless? What psychopath? Who did that? Was that the younger one?
Michelle. That was the new transferee from Dallas.
It would be one thing. No. There's no condition. That's just, what are they doing in Dallas that she's just like, open them up?
Well, you know,
like,
they're
are those
tough,
like cartel
they're tough down
murders
there in
that she's
Texas.
just like used to? Oh my Lord.
So
Anyway,
Jack,
yes.
why don't you tell everybody about unlicensed to air?
Yes. So if you want a little bit more mysteries to die for, but you don't want either of us, let me tell you. I am currently producing a brand new show from two Australian hosts, DJ Mike and Miss Maiden. And they used to be a radio show, and they've turned it into a podcast, and we have called it Unlicensed to Air. And so what this show is about is it's basically just a little bit of everything. We got a little bit of music news. If you want to know what's happening in the world of music, we have a little bit
in Australia.
In Australia. They do talk about some global things, like
They
this
do.
last episode we just shot, which actually is not posted yet. This is going to be episode 6. We touch a little bit on the, what's it called? Ticketmaster.
Oh, yes.
That Ticketmaster lawsuit. By the time this episode airs, actually, that episode will also be up. So you can probably go check it out at episode 6.
Let's see. I have listened through episode 4. Very entertaining.
Yes.
I think the thing that entertains me the most, as Jack said, the hosts are Australian, and so of course to us, you know, they have the really fun accent. And Jack does the segment breaks, and I just had the aha moment that to them,
I'm the weird sounding one. Yeah.
even if he's not saying all the stuff he said today about pigs.
So yeah, I produce every episode. So for every episode you're listening to, just understand that I am sitting there behind the background doing all sorts of stuff, doing background stuff that you don't need to know about, fun stuff. But yeah, so if you're interested in trying out something a little bit more different than these mysteries and you want to go see some Australian humor, it is a very funny show, I have to tell you. I'm always sitting in the background. I have to keep myself muted at all times because I'm just laughing through most of it. So yeah, definitely go check that out. And yeah.
Unlicensed to air.
Unlicensed to air. Yes. I'll try and remember to stick it in the show notes. So go ahead and scroll down. If it's not there, my bad. It'll be there. It'll be there, guys. Don't worry. It'll be there.
And now, back to the slaughterhouse.
Back to the slaughter.
Samantha Tipton. A knock at the door spurred Michelle into action. She left Pam studying Q through the two-way glass as she opened the door. After speaking... Okay, so we are back in the police station, everybody, if you didn't catch that. After speaking to someone outside in the hall, Michelle told Pam, "Someone here to see you in interrogation room 3. Also, the officer, Peter, he says he needs to talk to you." The junior detective hesitated and then said, "Wait, is that..." "The one and only," Pam said through clenched teeth. "Tell him it can wait." When Peter was gone, Pam stood a moment to study Q, then made for a door while pointing at the glass. "Watch him," she ordered Michelle, referring to Q. "Let me know if he mutters anything out loud. Hopefully it's a confession." Michelle nodded. "I'm on it, partner." Pam entered the interrogation room to find Bubba's secretary sitting quietly. The woman with the heart-shaped face had changed out of her business casual clothes, instead opting for a crop top and high heels. The detective could not help but judge the woman for dressing like a 20-something when she was clearly past 50. She watched the woman fidget with her handbag before breaking the silence between them. "Hi, Michelle. It's good to see you again." The two clasped hands. "You have something you want to share with me?" "That's right," Samantha said. Her dough-brown eyes met the detective's. "I did everything for Bubba, like I told you this morning, and I sure do hate what happened to him. I really do." The detective scribbled a note, all emotion, no tears, then asked, "You answered the phones at the plant, right?" Samantha gave a nervous laugh. I did more than that. I did payroll, handed out checks, hired, fired, handled disciplinary reports, employee complaints, kept the break room stocked. I did it all." Pam watched the moisture build in Samantha's eyes before a tear dripped onto her cheek and landed on her prominent bosom. The detective took a chance at a question that begged to be asked. "Were you and Bubba having an affair by chance?" Pam watched the woman's eyes fall to the floor before she gave an exaggerated, morose nod. The detective swelled with pride. Her powers of observation were still intact. How long it had been going on? Samantha burst out crying. She unclasped her purse and retrieved the tissue that she used to dab her eyes. "Not long," she said through a series of dramatic sobs. "A little over a week, I guess. The day after we were robbed, July 4th, Bubba said he always liked me. And I liked him, but we never did anything about it. We were going to run away together and start a new life." Pam flipped through her notes. "Bubba was married, was he not?" "That's right. You told me this morning his wife recently left him." Bubba's grieving mistress wiped her eyes and set the tissue in her lap. "What a witch! I've never met anyone who could be that cruel." Pam said, "How do you mean?" "Well, the way she would throw her affair in Bubba's face like she did." "And what's the wife's name?" "Eleanor." "Ellie," Samantha said. "It was the end of last month." "Oh, that woman." "June?" Pam asked. "That's right. Ellie showed up at the plant with her new boy toy and told Bubba that she wanted a divorce, and they kissed right in front of him. Then the next time she came around, she caught Bubba and me making love on his desk." The woman covered her face with her hands, one holding the soiled tissue, and groaned, "What an awful day that was. I'd never been so embarrassed. The first time Bubba and I were together, and it was ruined by her. That day she had divorce papers, and get this, Antonio proposed right there in front of Bubba's office, and Ellie says yes. The gall of that woman." Pam sat back in her chair, reeling from the Jerry Springer show fodder that she was being subjected to. "Antonio," Pam said. "He used to work there, right? What's Antonio's last name?" Samantha looked down and nodded. "Camparella? We called him Hercules because he was so strong he could throw the sows around, like they weighed 20 pounds instead of 200. Bubba fired him for stealing, And because he was always flirting with Ellie, I guess his flirting paid off. I hope she treats him like dirt. Samantha sighed and lowered her head. That night, Samantha sighed and lowered her head. That night, the night they caught us on the desk, Bubba told me he loved me, had always loved me, and he wanted to take me away and start a new life, leave this all behind us. Pam wished Michelle were here to take notes, but she managed by scribbling notes of her own. Were Bubba and his wife having problems before that? Oh, God, yes, Samantha said. Those two never got along. I'm pretty sure she only married Bubba for his money. There was no romance I ever saw between them. She continued. Bubba fired Antonio for stealing. I'm telling you all this because I wanted you to know what was going on with Bubba, the plant, and his wife, and me. But this makes me look real bad. What does? Pam said, sitting up. I never checked my voicemail messages. The moment I got home after talking to you this morning, I happened to notice one from Bubba. Look at the time. Samantha held up her phone to show the call came in at 2:33 a.m. Listen to this, Samantha said before tapping her phone screen. Baby, came Bubba's intoxicated and rough around the edges voice through the speaker. Do me a favor and check behind the TV. I hope I make it out of this, but I'm not so sure. Done some awful stuff and might have it coming to me. I love you, Snookums. Always have, always will. Samantha reached into her purse and produced a folded piece of paper. The detective unfurled the official-looking document and read a moment before uttering, He left you $1 million? The 30-year term life policy had Samantha Tipton as the sole beneficiary. The paperwork had been signed by the victim on July 5th. Pam held up the paper. Can I keep this? Samantha said, Of course. I called the insurance company. It's legit. She blew her nose and wailed into her tissue, her voice muffled. My phone was on silent. I was asleep when he called. If I answered, he might still be alive. I never got the chance to say goodbye. Pam wanted to get the interview back on track. Have Bubba and Ellie been in contact since she accepted Antonio's proposal? Not a single word, Samantha said. All I know, detective, is that I did not kill Bubba. The insurance policy thing, it looks bad, but I'll take a lie detector right now. My hand to God, I did not have anything to do with Bubba's death. May God rest his soul. She heaved a breath and blew her nose, regarding the detective with reddened eyes. I just want to clear the air. I hope I'd done the job. Pam wrote the details as quickly as she could, her mind drifting to the severed head of Bubba propped on that plate. She shivered, wondered how a woman as attractive as Samantha could sleep with a man like him, with his fleshy, dark, remaining eye, pug nose, and loose jowls. The detective thought he was a dead ringer for a pig.
It's a good one. It's a good one, Jason. I like that one. Man, she did it. I tell you what, she did it. I would place money if I was a betting man, but I'm not. I feel like that's an addictive thing, and I don't feel like I should get into it. But if I was a betting man, I'd place money on her. Because, I mean, wow. Yeah, that's just a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff. One person to come in and be like, I slept with him. He left all his money to me, but it wasn't me.
Well, that's why she's honest. She's coming forward because she knows it doesn't look good for her.
Yeah. And I kept listening to all her wording to try and see if there was any but she'd say she'd take a lie detector test.
Yeah. Because
she had nothing to do with his murder, right?
Yes.
I'm just trying to sit here being like, but she did have something to do with what? I don't know. And then, that voicemail, I was just sitting here thinking like, man, she could have put the gun to his head and made him make that. And behind the TV, what a weird place for it. What? Seriously. Why? He didn't think he was going to be murdered, right?
I don't know. People put things in weird places.
Behind
My grandfather
TV?
had money hidden all over his house.
But that's hidden. Why do you need to hide a life insurance policy? The insurance company has it.
Because you don't want your ex-wife to find it?
I guess, but you hid it in someone else's house. Wait, whose house was it that they found it in?
I don't know whose house it was.
Whose house was it? Yeah, where was Samantha staying?
It doesn't say. It just said, look behind the TV.
Okay, well, I guess we're going to assume it's his house.
We're going to assume it's his house.
Because that's what makes the most sense.
Yes.
But yeah, she just seems off.
You haven't met everybody yet, Jack.
Oh my gosh, there's more? Jason, I know we gave you a two-parter, but geez, couldn't you have... I'm kidding. Okay.
So let's see, who have you met? Right now you've just met Samantha and Q-Tip.
Yeah, we haven't met Eleanor or the Leva yet.
Or Little Dipper.
He's just been a story. You're right. He's not actually been in it.
It's not just Gravity Falls.
Oh my gosh. We shouldn't have let you watch that show.
I love that show.
No, I know, it's a great show.
Pig.
This is about a cop. Sorry, I'll drop that joke.
That's right. I called him a pig. You can quote me, put it on the evening news along with my picture. Just make sure I have my middle finger up, because that's my final message to him. Pam and Michelle sat in the living room of the victim's widow, Eleanor Fitzgerald. Unlike the weeping Samantha, Eleanor sat across from the detectives looking perfectly unbothered. Dressed all in black and seated on a maroon stuffed chair, Eleanor was as far from crying as a poker-playing executioner. The detective swallowed wrong and coughed into her hand. Good, because I needed a cough. Forgive me, Eleanor. Isn't that a bit harsh to say about your recently late husband? Call me Ellie, the woman said coolly, and I don't give a rat's ass what it sounds like or how it looks. The man looked like a pig, acted like a pig, and when he snored, he goddamn sounded like a pig. We were getting a divorce. Our court date was supposed to be next week. Tell me about Antonio, Pam said, to which Ellie stiffened. She shifted in her seat and said, What about him? Well, he was a former employee of Bubba's who was fired for stealing, is what I heard. And he proposed to you and you said yes. Is that correct? Ellie bobbed her chin. Yeah, what of it? Antonio's a real man, unlike weak-willed Bubba. Antonio pleases me in ways Bubba could never. God, the stamina of that man. Should never have married Bubba. But woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? Pam watched the woman's face closely for micro-expressions. How did you and Antonio get acquainted? I mean, when did you two start seeing each other? Beginning of last month, Bubba sent him over to the house to clean windows, Ellie said before uttering a laugh. Well, that's the story Antonio gave me. Apparently, Bubba fired him that day. Was I payback? Maybe. I don't care. It's been fun, and God knows I needed fun. We ended up sleeping together that day. He didn't clean a single window. The woman covered her mouth and smiled with her eyes at something in the distance, as if reliving a fond memory. I don't feel bad. You know I caught Bubba having an affair too? Right, Pam said, checking her notes. You walked in on him and Samantha Tipton going at it on the top of his desk on the July 4th. Talk about fireworks. Ellie huffed. That whore. Yeah, I caught him. You ever see two greased pigs fight over an apple in a mud pit? That's what it reminded me of. Disgusting. Pam asked a question she already knew the answer to. Did Bubba have life insurance? Sure did, Ellie said with a grim smile. $1 million. And I get it all. Tax-free. God knows I deserve it for sleeping with him as many times as I did. Pam and Michelle shared a look, and then Michelle asked, But you were married to him, right? Ellie scoffed. Well, he wasn't always a fat slob. I mean, he played football. He was muscular, strong. Only the last few years did he let himself go. And the moment I caught them together, I came home, packed a bag, and I've been staying with my mom ever since. She sat up straighter and added, Antonio and I are looking at houses. We're going to start a new life together. Ellie raised her arms. Damn good thing about that insurance policy, too. I mean, I can sell the house, but we still owe a lot on it, and that plant isn't worth a damn. Bubba tried to sell it before, but he created this system that's supposed to be more humane for the animals. All it does is cut efficiency, which meant no other plant owner will touch it. Pam reared her neck back. Bubba was humane to the animals? To a fault, Ellie said with an eye roll. He could have been slaughtering double, triple, even quadruple the amount of swine. But no, his Dunkin' machine and auto saws were his bread and butter. He wanted to be nice to the animals and prevent his employees from getting their hands bloody. He had big ideas about selling a patent on his setup, but it's slow and cumbersome, and, well, the plant is worthless. I'll probably take a hit selling it. Yep, that policy will have me set, God willing. Pam watched the woman's face closely. Where were you Saturday night, going into Sunday morning? Ellie jutted out her chin. I was with my mom in Houston visiting her sister, Carolyn Walters. I have witnesses and proof and nothing to hide. Only then did Pam lob the bomb she'd been holding on to. Were you aware that Bubba switched the beneficiary of his insurance to Miss Tipton? Ellie's face fell. She stood up and bunched her fists at her waist. You're lying. I wouldn't, Pam said. You're a cop. You're paid to lie. Pam ignored the slight. Not about this. She reached into her file folder and handed over proof of the beneficiary change. Ellie snatched the paper from the detective before bunching it up and tossing it into the dormant fireplace. Pam watched the wadded paper roll around and come to a rest. She thought about mentioning that was her only copy, but decided against it. So, you were not aware? Hell no, Ellie said, her voice dripping with anger. She looked the detective in the eye and said, Now I wish I'd killed him. The jaded wife pounded her fist on her knee and hollered at the ceiling, You son of a bitch! She narrowed her eyes at the detective and said, I bet that whore killed him for the life insurance money. She's behind this. I feel it in my bones. Now both of you please leave. I want to be left alone. Now you've met Ellie.
Now we've met Ellie. Okay. I had many thoughts during this, and I'm going to be honest with you. I've forgotten most of them by now. So I'm going to start rambling and hope they come back to me.
Okay.
I really had a lot. I could have sworn I had a lot. Oh, authors in the future, if you want to get onto TG Wolff's good side, write in coughing. That is, I mean, if you want to get let into the next season, just be like, or if you want to do some gamble, put a sneeze in there. See what happens.
Oh my goodness. It's allergy season in my own defense.
Yeah, well, it won't be by the time this posts. That's a
Yes,
lie. It still will be. It'll still be May. But
sorry, everyone.
If you want to be nice, if you want to get on her good side, write a couple coughs in there.
Give me
maybe
a chance to
she
clear
picks
my
up the
throat.
phone and takes a work call. Maybe put one of those in there. You never know.
Don't you have a filter set so that it filters out my coughing?
What?
No, that's not such a thing.
No, I have a, it's called a limiter. So if you do something that's like super quiet, it won't pick it up. But I mean, you mute your mic when you cough, don't you?
Well, it depends. Like a lot of times I try to at least get out of, what did you say? This is a directional microphone?
Yeah.
So I try to get out of being directly in front of it, hoping that then it won't pick it up or it'll be quieter.
Sure. Listeners, you know.
If there's suddenly a piano solo where there's no point in being a piano solo, yes, I'm probably coughing.
So Ellie seems like an awful person, but I don't get the vibe that she did it.
She was in Houston.
Oh yeah. So we know she didn't do it.
So we
Darn.
got Samantha home asleep.
But okay, so if she was in Houston, what's the point of her character? We need to look at this from the big picture, guys. What's the point of her character? The point of her character may be the other guy, the Antonio. And let me just say,
because Bubba was getting in Antonio's face at the bar the night he was died.
It takes a lot of hatred to propose to someone in a place that you don't like just to spite a man. look, if you propose to someone, are you going to do it in a place that like means something to you and means something to the person? Or are you going to do it in a place that makes someone else's life just a little bit harder? Like, wow, that takes a lot of spite.
That does take a lot of spite.
A big moment in your life and basically detract a little bit from it just to make it harder for someone else to have a good time. Like, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of hatred. It's impressive. It's impressive. So anyway, let's keep on going. I think is this our last chapter?
2 more.
2 more chapters until this episode ends. So, folks, make sure you come back in 2 weeks. 1 week to hear the second part of this. Oh, and one other thing that I completely forgot to mention. Next episode, we're going to have a small interview with the author, Jason Little. So you get to hear a little bit about his opinion of us and what we said about it. And you can hear a bit more about him, his background.
Will he actually hear this before?
Yes.
Oh, so he'll hear me do the whole eyebrow crossing thing? That's awesome. That's awesome.
No, yeah, I make a different version of this and I send it off to the author. That's what we did last month for Larry M. Keaton. So he got to hear his story of Cast of Crabs before, and our rendition of a Cast of Crabs before we did our interview. Okay. So yeah, we will be having Jason Little onto the podcast.
I see a graphic involving eyebrows in my future.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you're going to do that, but or you could just flip them and the eyebrows will look weird.
2 caterpillars growing.
Yeah, or crossed eyebrows. You could just make a cross on his forehead made out of hair. That's creepier.
I'm not that skilled. Let's just go on.
That's true. Also, we still haven't heard from the psychic.
We have not heard from the psychic.
And knowing Jason, the psychic's going to have a very large role, I think. All right, I'll shut up.
Little Dipper. The following day, Pam and Michelle sat in Fitzgerald meatpacking break room, which was quaint, Pam had to admit. It was more like a kitchen you'd find in a furniture store as opposed to a warehouse dedicated to murder. Pam purposefully chose this location to gauge the reaction of the obese gentleman stepping through the door. Stuart Matheson, a.k.a. Little Dipper, wore a black San Antonio Spurs basketball jersey and a matching cap. He was accompanied by an African-American gentleman dressed in a blue windbreaker over pressed khakis. Pam had spoken to Stuart's probation officer on the phone in preparation for this interview. The better-dressed man respectfully jutted out his hand. "Detective McCarthy, John Pembrose. I understand you have some questions for this young man." "I do," Pam said as they all took their seats. The not-so-young Stuart removed his hat and tousled his greasy hair before sliding it back down in place. He made no move to put his hand out and merely sat with eyes on the table. When he spoke, he did so with a voice full of gravel. "Nice to meet ya." Pam responded, "You too, Little Dipper." This took the man by surprise. He sat up straighter and studied Pam's face. "That's what they call you, right?" Pam said. He flashed a smirk. "Yeah, Bubba called me at first and I guess it kind of stuck." "Because you control the electric current for the dipping pool, is that right?" Pam asked. "Which is Bubba's invention, is it not? What is the purpose of the pool?" Stuart looked over at John, who nudged his charge to answer the question. "Well, the electric current knocks the animals out so they don't feel no pain. It's normally used for chickens or turkeys, fowl, but Bubba had the idea to use it for swine because it's more humane." Pam noticed the man's inability to meet her gaze. "Did Bubba tell you to say that? Maybe when the inspectors come around?" Stuart let loose a laugh, and he quickly suppressed under John's watchful eye. "How'd you know that? Psychic too?" "Hey," John barked, nudging Stuart with his elbow. "Be respectful." "Two?" Pam asked. "Well, yeah," Stuart said. "That psychic lady, that was freaky. I'm not going to lie." Pam's forehead creased. Now, whose idea was it to visit the psychic? Stuart twisted up his mouth and gave his head shake. "I'm not sure, but it was damn spooky. Even Bubba was scared. You could see it on his face." "What did she say, exactly?" Stuart looked over at stern-faced John before uttering, "To be honest, I was pretty drunk. But, well, we went inside and there was a psychic lady. I thought she'd be old like some kind of witch, but she was kind of hot." Stuart looked bashfully at the detective and then John before continuing. "I remember she asked for Bubba's hand, and the minute he touched her, Her body jerked and she turned mean. Pam watched Michelle furiously jotting notes. Stuart continued. She said, "You hurt those animals, so the same is going to be done to you," or something like that. "Negative karma," she kept saying. Then she told Bubba to reach into his back pocket, and he did and flipped something out on the table. I thought it was a coin, but when Bubba saw what it was, he jumped out and ran out of there, quick. "What was it?" Pam asked. "Here, I still have it." He rooted around in his pocket and dumped a handful of objects on the table between them. Among twisted rubber bands of every color, paper clips, and coins, Stuart plucked up a round disc he dutifully handed over. Pam accepted the object and turned it over between her fingers. "A dog tag." "I guess," Stuart said. It sure freaked Bubba out when he saw it. He jumped up and ran away from it as much as her. The psychic, I mean. Pam showed the dog tag to Michelle that bore the name Perla. Michelle offered, "That means pearl in Spanish." Stuart gathered up all the trinkets and stuffed them back into his pockets. "Well, you can keep that. I just grabbed it and just remembered I had it, actually." Pam shared a dubious look with John. "Stuart," Pam said, "why don't you tell me what happened last Saturday before the psychic? After work, you went out with Q to King's Tap. Your former co-worker, isn't that correct, since Bubba basically let you all go that day?" Stuart sniffed and wiped his nose. "I hate that us fighting that night was the last time I saw him. I never got a chance to say sorry. He was always pretty good to me." "Let's talk about what happened at the bar." Stuart's face took on an expression of fondness, as if looking upon a memory he would like to return to. "Bubba took us all out and bought us beers and wings and those fried mozzarella sticks. That was really nice of him." Pam checked her notes. "Then what happened in the men's room?" When she met Stuart's eyes, he looked away. Stuart looked over at John, who nodded at the detective as encouragement to spill the beans. "Bubba caught me smoking meth again. He said he was going to turn me in." Pam checked the file folder under her notebook and read a moment. Then she closed the file back. "You were a recent hire and now recently fired, and all this after Bubba took a chance on you after getting out of prison. Tell me about that." Stuart shifted in his seat. He tugged at the collar of the jersey as if to let a plume of invisible steam escape. "I got in a bar fight, smashed a bottle over a kid's head that kept talking shit to me. The bottle broke and one of the sharp edges cut his neck open, and he ended up on life support. Luckily, he pulled through, though." Pam tapped the notebook. "Lucky for you. How long were you in?" 2 years, on probation for 4. I'm on my 2nd year." John spoke up. "That's right. The victim, Bubba Fitzgerald, was nice enough to give Stuart here a job after he got released from prison. I met Bubba at the Chamber of Commerce function years ago. I got him to hook Stuart up with a job. I would visit the plant now and again to check on our friend here, and I told Bubba to call me if he ever messed up. God rest his soul." John gave a dejected sigh with a shake of his head. "Well, Bubba did call me Saturday night, more like Sunday morning, around 2. He told me he caught Stuart smoking and to come pick him up first thing. Except I was out of town, and I wouldn't be back until Monday. So I told him I'd pick Stuart up first thing Monday morning, and that's what I did. I took him to a sober living house. It's more lax than a safe house, but that's what Bubba's requested, and I agreed." Pam said to Stuart, "Sounds like Bubba did you a solid." Stuart's face grew long. "Bubba was great. I owed him a lot. I hate what happened to him and hope you catch who did it." Pam suddenly remembered something Q told her. She said to Stuart, "Speaking of fights, did Bubba get into a tussle with someone at the bar?" "Oh, yeah," Stuart said. Antonio was doing his arm wrestling thing, robbing suckers. Bubba went after him. I guess he was pissed after catching me and wanted to take it out on someone. Glad it wasn't me. Antonio got out of there before Bubba could do anything. Was anything said between them? Bubba asked. Stewart thought a moment, then said, well, Bubba went up to Antonio and pinned him against the wall and told him, you have cancer, or something. Pam furrowed her brow. Could it have been you are a cancer? Well, maybe, Stewart said. Antonio just smiled like he wasn't bothered at all. Gave Bubba a hug, shouted something about the sunrise in his ear, and jetted. The sunrise, said Pam. Could you hear exactly what he said? Stewart shook his head. It was pretty loud in there. Then we all left. What happened after you visit the psychic lady? Stewart lowered his gaze. Bubba called the cops on cue for the pipe, said he wanted to teach him a lesson, and told me to go straight home and wait for John on Monday. Pam was taken aback. Wait, he trusted you to go home all on your own? Stewart nodded. I did as he said. I didn't go anywhere. How did you get home? Pam said. Well, I walked. I don't live far from the bar or the plant. Stewart, Pam said. I'm going to show you some photographs. Michelle slid the evidence glossy across the table. Stewart looked at the photos and did not seem fazed at all. Not even a twitch from his eye revealed any sign of discomfort. Geez, Stewart said. Someone really got him, huh? Pam hid her disgust as she tapped the photo showing the dipping pool. When we found what was left of Bubba, the electricity in the pool was turned down. Do you know why? Stewart shook his head. What would happen to the animals placed in a pool at that level? Stewart stared at the floor as he explained. It'd probably hurt like a sumbitch. It'd give you one pissed off pig. A thrashing sow can be dangerous. That's why I try to bring the electricity to an acceptable... Saved Bubba's canned lines, Pam said. I want to hear it from you. Did you purposefully turn down the electricity to cause Bubba pain? Why would I do that? Stewart asked. He bought us all beers. He took us out. He was letting you go, the detective interjected, and he called John here. When the interview was over, John asked to speak with detectives privately. In the corner of the room, the probation officer whispered to Pam and Michelle, Stewart isn't one to change clothes very often, and I noticed a bit of blood on his jersey. To be honest, I don't know if it's a work stain or something else. You get what I'm saying? Pam resisted the urge to cringe as she imagined Stewart wearing the same clothes to work as that he did to gallivanting around town. She told Stewart, You're going to have to take your clothes as evidence. Do you have something to change into? Stewart, shrugging, removed his hat and ripped off his jersey, revealing layers of flab and numerous dark stretch marks that ran along his sides like freshly healed wounds. He handled the bundle over and said, It's a nice day. I don't mind airing out a little.
Oh, Stewart.
Now you've met Stewart, a.k.a. Little Dipper.
I'm going to be honest. I imagined him being skinny up until that last scene.
No, he was like a triple XL.
Yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, I just ignored that entirely.
Yeah, so,
I do that quite frequently.
So Q looks like a Q-tip with his black hair.
Yeah.
Then we have Samantha Tipton, the soon-to-be-a-millionaire secretary.
Yeah.
We have Ellie, the ex-wife, who is not going to be a millionaire.
Sucker.
And we have Little Dipper, a.k.a. Stewart. I don't know what to say about him.
Well, I don't think he did it. He might be an accomplice, I suppose, but it definitely wasn't his idea. The dude just doesn't seem to care that much.
Doesn't seem to be the sharpest crayon in the box, does he?
No. So who do we still have to meet? The psychic and the lover?
Okay, so the next one you're going to meet is Antonio, the lover.
Antonio.
And then I'm afraid we're going to have to wait till next week to meet the psychic.
I somehow knew it. I knew we wouldn't be fortunate enough to meet the Because the psychic's so excited to meet, because Jason is just a wild man.
I
And I want to know
I
what
guess
she
if
is.
you want, I can open up the other script and we can do that. But that is definitely going to make this a long episode.
No. Because
It's
then we'd
already
also
a
be cutting the
full-length
next. We'd be
episode.
cutting the next episode short, and that'd be cruel. That'd
No.
be cruel. So no.
Okay.
No. But it's good to know that you can be persuaded to do that quite easily. I didn't even suggest it. You were just like, let's do it.
Well, it does make sense. I'm all about, like, I like grouping things, and meeting all of the suspects in one episode seems like something I probably should have noticed.
Well, if you get through this chapter, I'll give you a chapter to think about it.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Next.
Nomad. Pam returned to the station after a brief lunch when she noticed Peter walking toward her from down the hall. The detective was trying to bypass her soon-to-be ex-husband with his blue uniform, shaved head, and close-cropped goatee when he stepped into her path, halting her progress. "I have to talk to you," Peter said, showing both palms. "I have nothing to say to you," Pam said. At that moment, her phone buzzed with a text message from Michelle that read, "Interrogation Room 3. "I have to go," she told Peter, pushing past him. He stood in place, watching her walk further away from him before calling after her, "It's important." Pam quickened her step and threw open the interrogation room, thankful for the distraction. What she saw left her incensed. Michelle sat on one side of the table. Across from her sat a man with dark features, dressed in orange. Despite his attire, the man did not resemble the typical jailhouse flunky. He was powerfully built with handsome features. His dark eyes seemed to penetrate straight through her soul. When he spoke, Pam felt butterflies, much to her dismay. "Hello, Detective McCarthy. I am Antonio. Nice to meet you." Pam diverted her eyes to keep from blushing. She held her tongue as she took her seat. Inside, she fumed, wondering why the hell she wasn't notified of this interview, and how dare Michelle start without her. She considered going to the chief, but figured she'd take her partner aside later. As long as the younger detective followed protocol, no harm, no foul. At least she hoped. Michelle greeted Pam cordially. "This is Antonio Camparella. He has information about Bubba's murder." "Antonio," Pam said, commandeering the interview, "you used to work at Bubba's Meatpacking, but you were fired for stealing. Isn't that right?" "That's the excuse he gave," Antonio responded, the corner of his mouth turning up to form a charming squirk. "I think it was more like he did not like me talking to his old lady." "And now you and Ellie are together," Pam said. "Am I understanding that correctly?" Antonio smiled, showing all his strong teeth. "Ellie is something else, a real firecracker. Bubba could never satisfy a woman like that. She does this thing during sex." Pam cleared her throat, interrupting his revolting train of thought. "And now Bubba's dead." Despite the detective's statement, Antonio's face showed no signs of distress. "Tell me about last Saturday night," Pam continued. "You and Bubba got into it at the bar?" "Saturday?" Antonio said, looking up and to the right. "I was at the bar having fun when Bubba came up to me and apologized." "He apologized?" Pam said. "For what exactly?" "Well, he did not get very specific," Antonio replied. "He just seemed really broken up about, well, everything. Real down on himself. I have heard that a person who is depressed like that starts apologizing, that maybe they are close to taking their own life. Are we sure Bubba did not kill himself?" "Trust me," Pam said. "Bubba's death was no suicide." The senior detective nudged Michelle, who at first looked at Pam questioningly and then reached into her bag and produced the crime scene photos. She slid them across the table. Antonio whistled as he flipped through each one. Healed, just like the animals he tortured. Fitting death, wouldn't you say, Detective? Pam cleared her throat to keep from swallowing the lump in her throat she feared would be audible in the quiet room. She noticed then that the inmate wasn't handcuffed. Pursing her lips, Pam started a list of items in her head that she would use to chastise Michelle later. "Let's get back to the bar," Pam said. "I have several accounts that you and Bubba got into an altercation." Antonio laughed. No. I am a lover, not a fighter. He came up to me and he said he was really sorry for everything, and I gave him a hug. Isn't there surveillance footage you can check? I told him everything was going to be all right, that he should go and visit Dahlia. She tried to help him, you know. The detective's eyes met momentarily before Pam wanted to know more. "Who's Dahlia?" "Oh, my sister," Antonio winked. "She came up with the idea of the Bubba's buddies. Well, Bubba, I guess, came up with the name, but all of it was her idea. She sat beside him at the bar one night, and from what she told me, Bubba was depressed as always, and she knew all about it. Told him his fortune and gave him advice to help him erase all the negative karma that he'd built up over the years." Pam raised her eyebrows. "Is Dahlia a psychic?" "Oh, you didn't know?" Antonio said past a smile. "She has a business not far from the bar. I told Bubba to stop in after we had our discussion that night." Pam started piecing things together. "So Dahlia tells Bubba to start Bubba's buddies, only to have the plant get robbed. Did you know about the robbery?" Antonio pinched his lips together and shook his head. "No, I hadn't heard that. That's terrible." Pam said, "You know anything about gypsies?" For the first time during the interview, Antonio's eyes flashed with anger. "Do you kiss your mother with that mouth? We prefer nomads." "So you're one of them," Pam said. "Were you involved with that theft?" "Would I admit it if I was?" Antonio said, winking his eye. "I heard he was robbed. Terrible, but not half as bad as what Bubba did in retaliation." "Which is?" Pam asked. Antonio shrugged. "That is for you to find out. You are a detective, right?" "Is Dahlia a nomad too?" "Well, of course," said Antonio. "She is my sister." Pam checked her notes. "I have reports that Bubba called you a cancer and that you said something to Bubba that night. Something about sunrise?" Antonio laughed. "Maybe he meant my zodiac sign. July 4th was my birthday, the day I proposed to Ellie. I am a Cancer. I told Bubba that if he were truly sorry, he'd go see Dahlia, whose building is right next to the Sunrise Inn." Antonio pointed across the table at Pam and added, "You should go see her, detective. She's been waiting to talk to you." Pam's mind raced. She looked over at Michelle and asked her partner, as much as the inmate, "What are you in for, Antonio?" The inmate gave a bashful grin. "Theft. I stole Bubba's wife's heart." "Clever," Pam said, to which Michelle muttered, "Loitering. He was trying to sell watches outside the Dollar General on Caulfield." Antonio dismissed the charges with a backward wave of his hand. "I was waiting for an Uber." Then he leaned across the table and said, "Your husband left you. Isn't that right, detective?" With an angry huff, Pam stood and walked out of the room. "So do you want to meet Dahlia?"
It feels like we should. It feels like we should meet her, right?
It feels like we should meet her.
Feels like we should. Okay, so that I feel like opened up a lot of things. So we got this whole new possibility, the whole new string of possibilities, which is quite simply that Dahlia set Bubba up, saying, "Let do this, charity thing, so that their people, the nomads, however you, they said call them the nomads, could come in and steal them, right?"
Yep.
So I guess that's that theory. Again, nothing's confirmed. But man, this guy is weird. How did he know the woman was getting a divorce? Was separated? That's just a creepy thing to see someone for the first time and say.
That is a creepy thing.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, let's...
Jason is giving you a lot to think about.
I know. But so that this episode isn't too long, I'm going to shut up and we're going to hit this last chapter.
Okay.
Here we go.
Dahlia. Pam drove her Nissan Rogue with Michelle seated beside her in the passenger seat. "Don't do that again," Pam barked. "You made us both look like complete amateurs." She looked over at her partner and added, "I mean, you are, but I'm not. I'm definitely not." The senior detective lifted her Subway cup and sipped from the straw. "And what was that about my ex? How could he possibly have known that?" "Pam, I'm so sorry," Michelle said. "It won't happen again. He said he had information and you weren't there, so I took the initiative. Thought you'd be pleased. I prepped him but didn't start until you got there. As for your ex, well, it's a small town. Like people keep mentioning, gossip travels." Pam eyed her partner and breathed deeply. She felt herself calming. "Apologize for yelling. You did good. I want to solve this case." "Me too," Michelle said. "Can't believe we're visiting a psychic." She started out at the family gathered around the picnic table in front of Sonic. "Murder houses and psychics. What kind of first case did I get myself roped into?" "Strange one, to be sure," Pam said. "It's a first for me, too. So far, I've got nothing." "It's tough," Michelle said. "Q-Tip is too scrawny to lift Bubba. Stuart, the Little Dipper, is too out of shape and dumb to pull this off, I might add. Maybe they both did it?" Pam eyed her partner dubiously. "But why?" Michelle shrugged. Q had motive with the black eye and the pipe charge, and Stuart was getting fired and the call to his probation officer. Q did say Stuart said he'd rather kill someone than go back to prison." "Hearsay," Pam said, flashing her partner a side eye. "All pretty weak motives." Michelle said, "Well, 2 of them were on meth. Doesn't that make you do crazy things? What if what Q said is true, that Bubba abused animals?" "Maybe Antonio did it," Pam said, "and he's strong enough and I trust him about as far as I can throw him, which is not far." She sucked the dregs of her cup. "But what is his motive? He already has the wife. Unless maybe he wanted Ellie for her life insurance money, not knowing he signed it over to Samantha." She smacked the steering wheel with the butt of her palm. "I didn't ask him where he was during the murder. He had me flustered with that line about my ex." Michelle perked up, changing the subject. "Maybe Samantha did it." "I don't necessarily get murderer vibes from her," Pam said with a dismissive wave. "Let's assume Q is to be believed. There's no record of Bubba being abusive. To anyone, even Ellie, who hated his guts, he said he was humane to the animals." "I think this might change your mind," Michelle said, catching Pam's attention. She opened the briefcase at her feet and slipped out of the filed folder. She held a few news clippings as well as a couple of official-looking documents. Pam could only give the paperwork a cursory glance, since she was driving. Michelle explained for her benefit. Bubba had 3 complaints from the ethics board about his abuse to animals. He was almost shut down each time. Pam reared her neck back. "Why am I only being told about this now?" Michelle shook her head. "I had to do some digging. Maybe he learned how to hide the abuse." "And his employees couldn't stand idly by?" Pam offered. Michelle pointed at her senior. "It's possible." Pam looked over and said, "But how do we prove it?" At that moment, Pam pulled the Rogue off the road and up in front of a small white storefront neighboring the Sunrise Inn. The sign out front read, "Dahlia, Psychic Extraordinary." "Maybe Dahlia can tell us who did this," Michelle said. Pam eyed her partner and uttered, "Maybe she's in on it." Pam and Michelle exited the car when Pam's cell phone buzzed in her pocket. The call ceased and the buzzing started again by the time the pair had passed through the open door and into the lobby of a plain white building. Inside, they found a small waiting area with laminate wood floor. Incense burned in a corner. A soft melody played from behind a black curtain. Hippie beads hanging in the doorway of the next room waved in the gust of an oscillating fan. A crystal ball perched on a small table radiated purple mist that seemed trapped inside and desperate to escape. Without warning, the curtain flared and the beads rattled as a thin young woman emerged from the adjacent room. Dressed all in black with a matching veil, the woman's chin came to a delicate point. Her lips were painted a deep ruby red. Dahlia moved with grace and purpose. She sat at the table without so much as a glance in their direction, indicating with a gentle wave of her hand the two chairs across from her. "Hello, detectives," she said. "Please, sit." Pam and Michelle shared a look. "How do you know who we are?" Pam asked. Her eyes hidden, Dahlia spoke beneath her veil. "Where do you think you are, Pam? Costco?" Pam ignored Michelle's poor attempt to hide a grin as the two detectives took their seats. "Tell me about last night. A few men came in here around 1. Is that correct?" "That is correct," Dahlia said. "May I have your hand?" She reached an unexpected palm out toward the detective. Pam ignored the gesture and continued her questioning. "What exactly did you say to the man who asked for a reading? Had you met him before?" Dahlia did not lower her hand. She made no movement at all. Neither detective could see past the veil to her eyes. "Give me your hand, and I will tell you all you want to know," the psychic said. Michelle nudged Pam, who complied with their host's request. The detective slipped her hand between Dahlia's fingers, each bearing a large, gaudy ring. "Your case is already solved. It is as you expect. You can rest easy knowing a monster is removed from this earth. Karmic balance has been restored to our universe." Pam snatched her hand back as if it had been burnt. "What case are you referring to?" Dahlia's narrow lips turned up at the corners. "I have nothing to hide, detectives. That fat pig came into my place of business with his men snickering behind him, like this is all a joke. Like I'm one sick joke." Dahlia's grin became replaced with a vicious sneer. "I usually reserve the worst news for those who deserve it." And you could feel his negative karma seeping through his pores. Like a black cloud, he drifted into my home and fouled up my chair. So I let him have it. He abused animals in horrific ways, and so he was destined to reap the karma he sowed. Then Pam asked, "What do you think he did to build up negative karma?" Dahlia bounced her shoulders. "He runs a slaughterhouse. You figure it out." Pam was quick with her follow-up question. "Did all the guys he was with share his black karmic cloud?" Dahlia said, "Out of all of them, he was the worst, and the world is better off now that he is dead." Pam asked, "After the men left, can you confirm your whereabouts up until Monday morning?" Dahlia reached into the waist pocket and produced a flash drive. "I was here the entire time. That's my security recording. I'm sure it will satisfy your inquiry." Pam slapped the dog tag on the table and said, "Does this look familiar?" Dahlia tensed a moment before she relaxed and smiled, showing a beautiful set of teeth. "What is this?" Pam said, "I think you know what it is." "Are you the psychic?" Dahlia asked. "Or am I?" "I'm not sure," Pam said. "Because you don't believe, do you, detective?" Dahlia asked. "You think I'm a phony." "If you're psychic," Pam said, "what are the next Powerball numbers?" Dahlia's grin returned. "I can only tell you your fortune, not the fortune that happens to someone else. If you are destined to win, then I would know the numbers. But I don't, so sorry to disappoint." "I can tell that you will die by Pam said, holding up her hand. "We'll see ourselves out." Back on the sidewalk, walking to their cars, Michelle hurried to catch up with Pam, who had booked out of the psychic's home in a hurry. "Weren't you even a little curious?" Michelle asked. "No," Pam said. "Not even a little." All right. So that brings us to the end of part 1 of Finely Ground Karma.
That it does.
So now we have met all of the characters.
Yerp.
So we have Q-Tip,
Q-Tip,
Samantha Tipton,
Samantha Tipton. There's 2 tips in this story.
Ellie,
Antonio, and there's Stuart,
there's Stuart,
Little Dipper, and Dahlia.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're a fun crew, and it's really weird because it feels like there's 8 different ways that this could logically play out.
Mm.
You know, that's how it's like built to be. So I think next episode's going to be really fun.
So we've met all the main characters. So next episode we'll get a little bit more investigating, and then we're going to get to the deliberation pretty quickly, which leaves plenty of time for your interview with Jason Little.
And we're going to learn about what the husband has to say.
The husband's dead.
No, the detective's husband.
Oh, the detective's husband. I'm like...
No. The living husband.
Peter.
I can remember his name.
Well, in a preview of tomorrow, I will let you all know that Jason Little is a Texas-based fiction writer known for crafting dark, suspense-driven stories with sharp twists and unforgettable endings. His work spans horror, mystery, and psychological thrillers with a focus on stories that linger long after the final line. He is a reoccurring contributor to Mysteries to Die For, where his stories challenge listeners to solve the mystery before the truth is revealed. For readers who want more, Jason publishes exclusive horror stories, longer-form fiction, and behind-the-scenes content that is always written by a human, never AI, on his Patreon at From the Fright Vault. So that wraps up this 10A episode of Mysteries to Die For. Support our show by subscribing, telling a mystery lover about us, giving us a 5-star review. Check out our website, m2d4podcast.com, for links to this season's authors. Mysteries to Die For is hosted by me, TG Wolff, and him, Jack Wolff. Finely Ground Karma was written by Jason Little. Music and production are by Jack Wolff. Episode art is by TG Wolff. Come back next week for part 2 of Finely Ground Karma by Jason Little. All right, Jack, take us out.
And this way's off. Wait, are we on now? I'm on.
No.
And come back next episode for an interview. Whoops, that's the wrong chord.
I think you got to give us a better outro now after
Whoops,
that.
hold on, guys. I go. Oh my gosh. See you guys.